this game might be the game of the entire weekend, or at least in terms of the hype machine.
Yeah.
In the AFC East, right? You got the Patriots who are 8-4. The Bills are 7-4. Bills at home at 2.5-point favorites. And this one is really tough for me. And I'm going to talk more football here than the actual like gambling thing. But the reason it's tough for me is because this plays out as a Belichick setup game. Like, he's not coming out with the full playbook in this game against the Bills, because he knows that they have to play them again in a couple weeks, and then could potentially have to play them in the playoffs. And I'm reading too much into it, the Belichick Jedi mind tricks, but this just strikes me as a game where he's going to try to do enough he's going to try to win, obviously, but they're not pulling out the full playbook for this one.
God, I
but
love
even
that
with that said, give me the points and I'm riding with Belichick.
Okay. I love that take. Like, that's just the type of stuff that we need more of. I don't disagree with it. It's not like it's some like blazing hot, like electro take or anything like that, but it's just like, it's just fun enough to really tickle my funny bone. I'm on the opposite side here. I think this is buy low, sell high city at -2.5. It dipped down to -2.5, even not even money, but like -110 on either side. I grabbed that -2.5. It's -2.5 in contest, probably going to end up on my contest card, because there's going to be a lot of liking of the Patriots here. That makes sense. They've covered 6 games in a row, right? Like, they have shifted some of their defensive tendencies, and that's worked out. But it doesn't change the fact that the teams that they have played have been lackluster. And if it wasn't for a pick 6, and listen, the defense is allowed to contribute offensively, especially when they are a very good defense. I get it. But if it wasn't for that, right? Like, the Chargers did have a lead against the vaunted Patriots in the fourth quarter of their matchup not that long ago. I know no one's willing to recall that, because the Chargers ended up losing the game on that pick 6, but it's a thing that existed. Buffalo, obviously, a little bit soured on, right? We've got big time losses at home against the Colts, and the Patriots do play a lot like the Colts do, where it's like, let's not go crazy here with our quarterback. Let's run the football, all of those sorts of things here. And again, Patriots could very well win this game. I would be tremendously impressed if on a Monday night in Orchard Park, that's what Mac Jones was able to come in and do. And I realize it's not about Mac Jones. You know how I feel about the Patriots from a big picture standpoint. This just does feel like on the Mac Jones Man in the Arena documentary 20 years from now, when they hit this game, they're going to be like, yeah, we took a little bit of a step back in a tough situation and then we won 5 games in a row after that. And we finished, 12-5, and we've, won the Super Bowl, right? It's like, this is just one where it's like, yeah, it was a real eye opener, like that type of thing here for the Patriots. I think this is like as close to the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl as the Bills are going to get. We saw a similar game with them against the Chiefs earlier on, right? Yeah. That revenge element, that like circle the calendar. And if you are the Bills team who went to the AFC Championship last year, and there are only so many games on your calendar that you have circled, right? They don't have the Jags game circled on the calendar. Is that an excuse? No, it shouldn't be. They don't have game circled on their calendar. The Colts had it circled on their calendar. It's why we like the Colts so much, because that was a revenge spot for them. And as much as like the revenge spot concept can be a little bit whatever dicey, if we'd always talk about, okay, you have 4 games a year where you're going to absolutely be awesome. You're going to have 4 games a year where you're going to be absolutely terrible. And then everything else in between is just going to be middle of the road. Let's see who gets the bounce, essentially. This is one where the Bills, I think, are going to be very good in this game. And maybe it sets up that they're not as good the next time around for reasons that you just mentioned, because Bill's pulling out the tricks for the home game. And maybe he's looking at it going like, hey, we've drawn even. We're like a half step ahead of this team. And by the way, the Bills have the Buccaneers next week. So you can sort of, if you're even in the Patriots mindset, go, yeah, they might lose next week, and then we'll get them at home at Foxborough. And like, that would be in theory the game to quote unquote clinch, not literally, but sort of figuratively clinch the AFC East. Like, this is a much bigger game, as weird as it sounds, for the Bills. It's exciting for us because of how the Patriots have played coming into this game and where they are in the standings. I'm very excited about this game, but from a valuation standpoint, market number, my number, all have the Bills over 3. 3.5 type of a thing. We can get them under 3. And so that's just a fundamental play that I'm going to make every single time. And if I can sort of, retrofit a narrative around that, which I can with the Bills being successful in this game in a couple of different ways, certainly through the air, right? If the conditions are bad, Josh Allen probably better suited for the conditions than Florida bred Alabama, more bread, I guess, quarterback in Mac Jones, right? Like he grows up in Alabama after being a Florida quarterback for a long time, right? Like this is as cold as it's ever going to get for Mac Jones here in these conditions that I think is going to have some snow involved, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, I like the Bills in this game here, minus the 2.5 points. So again, like as far as, we have a lot of underdogs on the card here. Those are the ones that we'd like to talk about. The ones that we don't talk about on a week-to-week basis usually means I'm leaning to the favorite, but as somebody who's loath to sort of give out a favorite as a best bet or play a favorite as a best bet, something over 3, games like Washington, Las Vegas, kind of like Las Vegas as a small favorite. I mean, they're only down to like -1, -1.5 there, kind of like Philly, -6.5 there. And again, don't want anything to do with the Texans. So this is one of the few favorites that I like as a quote unquote best bet. It doesn't mean that everything is just underdog. We do have a couple of favorites that we like this week, Dallas, Minnesota, among some of the others as well.
I like it. And to round out that Pats thing, it's super interesting to me because I was right there. And then the emotion says to take Belichick. Right? Like it's interesting. Sure. Like think about it, right? The whole thing, it's like the spot is one thing that you talk about a lot that I've been learning and understanding. And the spot for the Bills is a much bigger spot for them to win this game than it is for the Patriots. And I said it, the Pats could lose this game and Belichick sitting back like, yeah, okay,
still
cool,
fine.
No worries. Yeah. We're still fine. We're still okay. We're still rolling. Right. So that's very, very, very interesting.